All right, Miles, let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens, one of our favorite teams to talk about. They're in the playoffs yet again, and they've got some really interesting news and some kind of different ways to approach it about a really wild story as they head into a potentially pivotal, potentially not pivotal divisional matchup this weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I know you got the specifics on one in particular, but before I hand it over to you, Miles, we want to hear from Ravens fans in the comment section below. Look, everything we know with the situation with the Bengals and Bills from Monday night, that affects how everything gets played out. But no matter how it shakes out, the Ravens still have a football game to play against Cincinnati in Cincinnati this weekend. We want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. Give us your prediction of what you think the final score will be this Sunday, Ravens at Bengals, in the comment section below. And while you're down there, make sure you click subscribe. It really helps us out. And that way, anytime we create more Ravens content, it gets posted to you. And finally, make sure you hang on to the end of the video. We've got a great special offer with a new partner of ours, Mint Mobile. You're not going to want to miss this. Make sure you stay on for the entire video to check it out. But Miles, give us the latest out of Baltimore.
Yeah, Nick. It has been up and down all season, and currently it is a big downslope for Baltimore. Lamar Jackson has not played for a number of games now, and we've kind of seen how inept this offense is, especially when he is not at the helm of it. And I think that shows a lot of people a lot of different things, Nick. But the latest news is that in all likelihood, Lamar Jackson will not play this weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals. So, that seems like another tough game for Baltimore to overcome without Lamar Jackson at the helm. But like as you said, you never know what is going to happen there. But Nick, I want to approach this here. So the Ravens have said Lamar is in all likelihood not going to play this weekend, but they are very hopeful he is back for the playoffs. And I have a couple scenarios here based on how things shake out on what I think the Ravens should do with Lamar. Obviously, I think we've talked about this, Nick. The Ravens haven't rushed Lamar back from injury, and I think that is we talked about get in his good graces, do things like that. And I think in doing so, if Lamar comes into this playoff game and he does well, if he wins, and if he wins one or two playoff games, I think you offer him the deal. I think you got to pay him. He is a dynamic playmaker, and he comes back from injury, plays well, wins a playoff game or two, or even you never know how many he's gonna win. But if he does that, then I think you offer him the deal and you try to get it done. Nick. But if he comes in after being slow to return from injury, no one knows how serious it actually was, but in my eyes, it was after taking time to come back from the injury, coming into the playoffs rusty, losing one and done in the playoffs. That is going to be very frustrating for all parties involved. What I think you do is go default back to the first deal that you offered him, offer it to him. If he doesn't want it, you tag him, and then you explore your trade options and try to move on, because it's really not working out for either party at that point. What do you think there, Nick? What are your thoughts on the situation? And just kind of give us your insight.
Yeah, so I think 100%, like you said, this is everything with not rushing Jackson back with his kind of injury. I think he could have probably played last week. I think he potentially definitely would have played this week with his injury. Probably is good to go. And instead of rushing him back, the Ravens, like you alluded to, said, no, we don't want to rush you back. We want you at full strength. We don't want you to re-aggravate your injury. We want to build some goodwill with you. Because look, in all likelihood, this is where I disagree with you a little bit, Mice. I think no matter what happens, Lamar Jackson's going to get slapped that franchise tag whenever the Ravens season ends. I think that's what's going to happen. And right now, the Ravens are, kind of like Ravens management, I should say. They're kind of slow playing him back into the fold. So that way, when he gets slapped with the franchise tag, management can be like, hey, listen, we're on Team Lamar here. We didn't rush you back from injury. We didn't risk you a major injury. We're doing you with the franchise tag right now to make sure you don't leave, but we're on the same side. We want you here. If we didn't want you here, we wanted you to leave. We would have just played you while you were hurt, but we didn't. So we're doing this deal again. It's just trying to help the negotiation down the road. That's a long-term play. But in terms of the short-term strategy, I think this is actually really, really brilliant here by the Ravens, because if everything's shaking out with, the Bills not playing against the Bengals, not making that game up, all that kind of stuff, even if the Ravens beat the Cincinnati Bengals, as long as the Chargers this weekend, as long as the Chargers handle business against the Broncos, which I think most people think they will, that means that the Ravens are kind of stuck at the seeding they are, which means they'll most likely have to go to Cincinnati for a playoff for the wildcard round anyway. So if they were to play Lamar Jackson and beat the Bengals in Cincinnati this weekend, they then would have to go around and turn around and do it again a week later, and that would give the Bengals two shots at defending Lamar Jackson at home. running plays, playbook, game planning, all that kind of stuff, figuring out how they match up against him. I don't think the Ravens want to deal with that. I think that's just a bad situation to be in, to give a team, a division rival, 2 shots at your star quarterback. So in terms of the short-term tactical side, I think this is really smart because you don't play Jackson, right? The Bengals come up with whatever plan they want to do to stop the Ravens offense. And then next week when they have to play each other again, you get a fresh Lamar Jackson, a Bengals defense that doesn't have a week of practice or 2 weeks of practice, 2 weeks of prep, and then a full game against Jackson to rely on. They're kind of going into it cold. I think that could benefit the Ravens too in that scenario. So again, I think in the long term, it makes sense. Build some goodwill with Jackson for future negotiations, especially the moment the season ends, franchise tag immediately. I think at this point, that's what's going to happen. But in the short term as well, it just makes sense because that way the Bengals don't get in a preparation advantage because they don't get 2 shots at Jackson. That's my takeaway anyway. Do you disagree or you have a different viewpoint on any of this?
No, I think if you step back impartially and look at the whole situation, that's probably the best way to look at it. I know fans can be frustrated with all things involved. They're frustrated with John Harbaugh comments that he's made, but honestly, John Harbaugh's probably frustrated this season. They're frustrated with Greg Roman, the play calling. They're frustrated with Lamar. They're frustrated all around. So if you can take that frustration out of the equation as you have, step back as an impartial third party and look at it, that's probably the smartest way to play this. And I think the Ravens should take heed to that and try to get a deal done when they can, try to move forward in the best way possible for the organization.
Yeah, that's one of the things. It's why the Ravens are, competitive every single year, despite the numerous amounts of injuries you seem to go with, right? It's why teams like the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Steelers, right? They're always in contention. They're always in the thick of it because they're smart run organizations. They play the long term. They don't rush for some short term gratification. And unfortunately, when you don't rush for short term gratification, you upset the fan base. People get antsy. That's going to happen and make sense. Sometimes even the coach will get upset. But when you play the long game, especially when you're smart, which the Ravens are, you usually win out. And I think this is a perfect example of the Ravens doing just that. Playoff season is here, and we all know that the only thing that matters this time of year is being clutch. And nothing is more clutch than having a wireless carrier built on the nation's largest 5G network. The only carrier with that title is, of course, Mint Mobile, who we're partnering with for today's video.
Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep the cost low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for the access to the same network?
Use our link. You can find it in the description below to get premium wireless starting at $15 a month. That link is mintmobile.com/Saturday. Again, find that link in the description below and stop paying more than you need to on your wireless bill. And guess what? Start saving big with Mint Mobile.